crafting delightful experiences in Jetpack Compose. Uh, yeah. So a little about myself. I'm Leshan, as you can see. By day, I work at Imagely, where we make photo and video editor SDKs for Android, iOS, web. But by night, I think you might know me better as Sinasamaki. So I run sinasamaki.com, where I make UI animations, user interfaces, and anything I can think of in Compose. So I love working in Compose. Anything I can do in it, I have to. So this whole presentation is also made in Jetpack Compose. I will post the source code a bit later. Yes. So the main character of our talk is a simple list item. So we're going to see how we can add delights and animations to a list item that you'd probably find in your email app or notifications or elsewhere. So we would have like touch interactions, swipe interactions, but we will get to all of it. So first thing we need to look at is the layout fundamentals. So how do we arrange things and put things together in Jetpack Compose? So what we have available are columns, rows, boxes, and what they do is just put things horizontally, vertically, or stacking things on top of each other. Or with box, we can use it to size items up or yeah. Okay, so now let's use the fundamentals that we have to create a simple list item. So over here, we just have a row, and we are aligning things together with a text and also a column in between for the title and subtitle. But as you can see, it doesn't look so good. Everything is crammed together, and there's no delineation between different items. And for that, we would have to use modifiers. So modifiers are things we can use with Jetpack Compose to kind of create, let's say, for example, here we have a border. That's what you can see around the item, or a background where you can like set the background color to whatever you'd like, whether it's selected or not. And we could also have the width and height we can specify to exact dimensions that we would need. So using modifiers, we could change what we had in the previous slide, where everything was cramped, to this that looks a bit more pleasing. But a trap that most people fall into with modifiers is the order that you apply them matters a lot. So up top here, we see that we add a clickable modifier to make the item clickable, like that. But you can see the issue here is that we have a padding on top of the clickable modifier. And you can kind of tell that the clickable area is not reaching the edges of the list items. So if the user somehow taps over here, it won't register any click. They have to actually tap into the list item where the padding is not visible. And so what we can do to remedy this immediately is to move the clickable modifier above. And what this does is takes it out of the padding. And you can see over here now, we can click almost to the edge. But the issue now is this doesn't look so good since we're going off out of the radius, the corner radius. And it kind of just looks a bit unprofessional right now. One solution you could do for this is add a clip modifier. And this essentially cuts out any area outside what is defined here. So right now I'm using a rounded corner shape. You can use any other shape, but this is what matches the background that I have here. So now you can see when I click, it's going till the edge. But we do not have that ugly outline that we had before in the previous one. Okay, now let's move on to gestures. So we have lots of gestures available to us with Compose that we can use so that users can interact with our elements. One thing we can do is augment the clickable modifier so that we add delightful animations on top of it. So right now, I'm using an interaction to kind of like collect when the button is being hovered or pressed. So hovered, of course, it will be in Compose multi-platform desktop or web. And you can see that when it's hovered, we can add an inner shadow that kind of tells the user, hey, you're about to interact with it. And then when it's pressed down, held down, you see the inner shadow gets a bit more intense, like that. Oops. Another thing that we have is a swipe to dismiss box state. And that kind of just gives us the ability to swipe on an item so we can move the list item and kind of reveal other actions. So let's say this example is an email list item. We can move it to the side and see there's an archive function, move it to this side and see there's a delete function. But we kind of want it not to be so opaque to the user what is going to happen. So what we could do in this situation is check the target state of this swiped gesture. So let's say when the user reaches a point where the action that is shown here will be triggered, we can change the background to a more intense blue, or if it's delete, a more intense red, to show them that if you were to let go over here, nothing will happen. But if you were to let go over there, it will delete the item. Same thing on the other side. Okay, so let's go to animations, something that I really enjoy doing, as you can see with the slides. Yeah, so with Compose, there's a lot of animation primitives I could use. Right now, I won't go through all of them, but just what I used for this example. So we have animate floater state, and with that, we can essentially just say the target value that we want based on a certain state. Right now, it's selected, and we define the animation spec. This is whether we want it to be slow, fast, bouncy, or not. And based on that, we can use these values for our animation. So right now, for example, for the focus, we set the target value to, when it's pressed, we set the alpha to 1. While it's hovered, we set it to 0.5. And you can see there's a subtle animation as you go onto it. And when you click, the inner shadow grows and looks a bit nicer than just popping in and out. And yeah, the animate floater state gives you the values, also with the by keyword, it gives you the values directly. You can just pass into your modifiers. Right now I'm using the background modifier and the inner shadow modifier and passing it in there. One other primitive that we have is animated visibility. What this does is essentially takes in whether a Boolean, whether it's visible or not, and it automatically applies animation on it. And you can also define what type of animation that you want onto the item. Here I'm using the scale in animation, and I'm adding a fade in animation. So this is to kind of make it a bit more pleasing. A scale in by itself might look like it's scaling from a single point outwards, which may not look so good. And if you're scaling from, let's say, 0.9, it might look like it's just popping in. So it's good to add a scale and a fade to make it look a bit nicer. And this animation, we're applying it on the check mark that shows up when you click on the item. I can zoom in a bit more. So far, I've looked at animations that add delight and add just making our user interface look a bit more responsive and yeah, delightful. But we can also use animations for different purposes. One could be teaching the user how to use our application. So over here we have the archive function kind of being revealed to the user. You can imagine this like the onboarding or at some point at the beginning of the user's journey with the app, where they see this animation of the list item moving in and out to reveal the archive function, and they could perform the action here. And yeah, we could also use animation to kind of show the user what not to do. So let's say we want to show that a list item is not deletable. So over here we have an item that can swipe over, but it's kind of difficult. So like I swipe all the way to the edge of the screen, but it's not moving with it. And then when I let go, it bounces back, kind of like saying, no, don't delete me. So it kind of shows the user, hey, this is not a possible action at this time. And this is a bit different from if it was just not swipeable at all. So the user might be a bit confused when they try to drag on it, because you've kind of taught them you can swipe your emails left and right, and now you're swiping on an item that is not moving at all. But when you have this animation where it's kind of like snapping back into place, they might learn that this action is not possible right now. Okay, so far we've looked at more visual elements, but we can also add more elements, audio or tactile feedback, that helps our apps be a bit more delightful to the user. And I haven't had much luck with audio, so yeah, I feel every time I try to add audio to the app, I want to like mute it immediately. So it's a bit hard to get audio right, but I have found more success with haptic feedback, especially since the phones have gotten much better with the vibration motors have gotten way better over time. So this is something that we can look at to add a better experience in our application. And we will use a similar thing that I introduced before, the will trigger. So this is just looking into if the swiping action will trigger an archive or delete. And based on that, we will send some haptic feedback. So here in Jetpack Compose, we just take the local haptic feedback, and we can pass in whatever type of vibration that we want to pass into it. Right now, for this example, I'm passing in a stronger haptic feedback when I'm about to perform the action. And then when the user is like kind of backtracking and like putting the item back to place, it's a kind of a more subtle haptic feedback to show that, okay, your action won't have any destructive. So as you can tell, this is a presentation. I can't really demo haptic feedback. So yeah, what I can show you is a shake animation. Oh. It's actually, I think it's because of the 1080p, it was much more subtle. But yeah, so you'd have a haptic feedback when you reach the point of the vibration of the action being triggered, and less subtle animation when coming back to place. And same thing on the other side. Okay, so Thank you so much. Here you can scan the QR code and find the code for the presentation. It can be it's Compose multi-platform, as I said, and you can get the source code there. And also, yeah, don't forget to vote. You might notice that it's a bit short, and it's because this presentation was in Compose multi-platform, and we're ready for questions. Yes.
If no one has a question, I'll ask. This level of user feedback requires, at least to me, when I'm trying to work with Compose, a lot of feedback for you as the animator, either from the shadows, from the padding. It's a lot of playing with the little things to get to those things. And I wanted to ask, what are you using to get immediate feedback on your changes? Are you using preview, hot reload, in order to immediately see, oh, this change in padding gets me this amount of touch area?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so for this especially, I use a lot of hot reload. That works very well for visual stuff. And also, it's much better for having a large screen to like test multiple things out, and instead of like having a phone where you can have you can have only one iteration of something. On the laptop, you can have multiple all at once and test it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello. So how often do you use these animations, or you get designs for these animations in your day-to-day work?
In my day job?
Yeah.
Yes. So not as much as I would like, definitely. But I am in a very unique position at Imagely, or where I'm basically the Android solutions engineer. And part of my job is dealing a lot with potential customers. And I find that animations really sweetens the deal to get them to like our product, to show them, hey, look at this fancy UI that you can create with this. So not as much as I would like, but quite a lot compared to my previous jobs.
If no one is asking a question, I may ask another question. Sure. I follow you, and I've seen a lot of the animations that you make. Is there any go-to animation or go-to API that you try to use in all of them, or something that you feel comfortable just adding whatever for a quick gain, if that makes sense?
I think the Compose animation APIs, so like the animate floater state, or the animatable, kind of like just creating an animation based on the float. And I can go back a bit. Too far.
Yeah, I think it was in the next
I
one.
lost it, yeah.
Yeah, there you go on the top.
Yes, not the animate floater state, but rather the animatable. So I'm not using it here exactly, but the way I would use it is with a LARP function. And I find this very easy to do some prototyping, where I can just create an animatable and set from 0 to 1 and set like a default duration. But in the actual code where I'm like drawing the UI elements, I just use the LARP function and interpolate that 0 to 1 to different ranges. So for example, with this, I would make it 0 to 1 and then test it out here. How does it look like with 40? How does it look like with 80? How does it look like with 1,000? Sometimes you try that out and you just see the whole screen disappear. But yeah, I think animatable and lab is my biggest go-to.
Thank you.
Hi. Firstly, really good presentation. I really enjoyed that. You mentioned about sound. Is the reason you don't use sound because you can't find the right sounds? Or is it more thinking about when you said that most apps are quite silent?
Yeah, I think it's mostly how to use the sound. Because one thing, let's say you have an app that a user is using daily, and they're hearing this one sound every time they tap a button, it tends to get old very quickly. And some apps that use sound or games that use sound, they take more time to kind of like curate this and make it better. So I think it's more of being able to organize, arrange the sounds in a good way that is pleasing to the user over a long period of time. And for that, I do not know how to do that.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. About performance, let's say we have a huge, here in the back.
Okay.
Let's say we have a list with a bunch of list items, and then there's a button to select all of them, and then it triggers animations on all items. Every item has like several animations. How does that impact performance? How do you work around that? If you have any issues, if you ever had any issues with that?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, so I guess first thing is just to test out and see when things go wrong or things get janky. Make sure you're testing on a low-end device for this to catch all the things that might not be on a high-end device. And based on that, kind of scaling back animations based on the problem. So for example, if I had an issue where, as you mentioned, select all, and we have all the checkboxes have animated visibility, what I would do is kind of scale back the animation in that particular instance. So when you're selecting one by one, it might work quite well, but for selecting all, it wouldn't work. So I would disable the animation in that case, and all the checkboxes just appear at once.
That makes sense. Thank you.
So amazing talk. Also following you on social media, like I love the animations every time you put them out. I was especially intrigued by the animation from the Kotlin logo at the beginning. Can you show how you managed to do that? Exactly.
This one.
Amazing.
Yeah, I could go into the code actually. Yes. So right here, Kotlin logo. It is a lot of path code. So the trick is I just sat on the couch and I had a good show on that I was watching passively in the background. And I put I don't know if it's here. Actually, I have a separate project for it. Let me open that up. Is this visible? Oh.
It's a bit small. Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yep. There we go. So I just put an image that was the Kotlin logo and gave it like an alpha of 0.5. And I went through and traced it out with paths. So with cubic 2 functions and lines. Kind of looks weird here. Oh, yeah, I scaled it up much later, but you can see over here, you can see the the original logo by JetBrains below, and above is what I was tracing. So yeah, it was just a lot of like time and manual labor into it, and yeah, tracing the items and separating them. Oops. If my previews work. Yes, so for example, this is the boundary that's kind of like, yeah, the divisions between all of them. And then we have like different sections. So this is like the bottom capsule down here. I think I also have the animations. Nope, I do not.
Thank you so much. This is really amazing to see. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi there. Obviously, like the animation you just showed would be inherently custom or like to a different app. There are certain animations that will be part of your product or brand feel. But as for like the swiping left to right to archive or to save, are there any like, I don't want to go so far as to say like standards or like strict values for that, but something to where the user would feel common types of like haptics or animations in certain use cases to not go too custom? Is there like a knowledge base you use to like feel that out, or is it all just what seems right to you?
I think as a base, I always like start with the material guidelines and kind of go from there, because also for example, the swipe to dismiss component that I was using, that is from the material guidelines. I'm just augmenting it and adding more to it. But when it comes to things that I add onto it, the augmentations, those are mostly custom. And I usually go by feel. At work, it would be more collaborative, so working close with designers and finding that right feel for something that we deem to be custom to our code. But yeah, mostly just going off of material guidelines. Sometimes I also try to add some knowledge from the other side, the iOS side as well, because the human interface guidelines is also a very good resource for all this user interface stuff. But yeah, starting off from that and see what feels right.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I always had an issue with a design that I got from customer, so that I had to kind of group a set of animations together when a screen was showing from the bottom, and also not only grouping some of them and then also chaining these groups after each other. I don't know if there is any API for that so that you can easily chain animations after each other, or you should kind of manually handle that, like listen, like whenever the first animation is ended, you start the second one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it kind of depends on the type of animation. Good. Not sure where to find the quickest one, but one thing that I do is use a launch effect and sequence animation, because like when you have an animatable and you call .animate, it's a suspend function, so you can wait for it to finish and then run a different animation. But I usually do that more on the testing side. So like when I want to kind of test how custom delays between different animations But once I have something solid, you can use, I'm blanking on the Compose API. It's like animate state, something like that, where you can like have like a single state that is like affecting the float, float animation, color animation, like all at once.
So it's kind of an observer on the animation itself, so that
Yeah,
you can check the state.
Yeah, so you'd have like just one state, let's say pressed or not pressed, a Boolean, and then based on that, you animate the background color, the scale, all at once. That's the one, updated transitions. Thank you.
Another like case that I had a lot of problem with, like I was working on an application that had like lots of images to be rendered, and like there were like this animation as well, like when the user was opening a new screen, lots of images had to be like showed, but this animation wasn't like smooth because in between the images had to be kind of rendered, or like drive animations or things like that.
So there were lots of images appearing at once?
Yeah, and the screen should be like coming from down to top, like as an animation, and at the same time the images should be loaded. So that was like a problem that I couldn't solve easily, actually.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Would have to look at code for that, but I think you could look into prioritization and see what you want to show up first. Also looking at different solutions. I don't know if you caught Sinan's talk earlier with the phased renderer and being able to like kind of choose the important parts and show that first. But if the animation is junky and the images need to be loaded, it might be a bit difficult to choose which one is more important.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm a beginner with all the animations, and now at the code I saw like there are many lines of codes, but if I want to apply it for a bigger app, is it easy like to set up a library so you can apply it with 1 or 2 lines to all the parts in the code, or do you have like composable parts where you just design buttons and use that button with that gesture animations and so on everywhere in the app, or how can you set it up globally in the app?
I think, for example, let's say you have a button that you want to be animated in whatever way you'd like. You can create the button as a composable and reuse it everywhere. So maybe I could show one thing that I like about creating the presentations in Jetpack Compose is that I don't have the issue of when I'm in, for example, Google Slides or something else, when I need to copy-paste the title slide multiple times to have it in multiple areas in my presentation. So for example, this is just a large composable that I pass in a title and some text, and it's rendered the same way, whether it's here or the next title slide. So using this same knowledge, like just having it for a button, you can do that as well, and have a button where you're just passing in the text, and yeah, you reuse it everywhere in your app.
Okay, thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I think I need more experience in practical stuff, so I can see which parts I can just, put outside of the code. So yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for the very interesting talk. At work, I really enjoy adding interesting animations, but I find it difficult to maintain accessibility for impaired users. Do you have any tips of how to deal with that?
Yes, so when I'm not making crazy animations like this, I need to make it accessible as well. But it's quite easy with modifiers. So there's in Jetpack Compose, the semantics modifier, and using that to describe the item that you are creating. So, for example, if you're making a super custom button that you're using primitive elements or a box and you're animating it by hand, always remember to add the semantics modifier to say this is a button, or if you're making a switch or anything else, just remember to add that as well.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add to your question from before that you in Compose have the ability for like the swiping actions to define accessibility actions which users can activate through the screen reader by just swiping up with 3 fingers. And so you could have an accessibility option, archive mail and delete mail, and the user does not have to use the swipe action to get there, but rather can use talkback or voiceover on iOS to activate it. So you can completely remove the animation and swipe gestures from the user experience if the user wants to. And also I had a question to your question with sound, or that you didn't get it working right. Do you have an idea why we accept sound on like Android TV apps? Because all of them make sounds. If I go to the YouTube app and I click, I have the click from my remote, but I also have the click coming through the speakers from the app. Do you have any idea why we accept it there, but don't on our phones except for maybe keyboard sounds?
Interesting. Now that I think of it, the TV is the only sound that I still have enabled. Actually, I don't know that. First thing I can think of is that it's a bit more normalized to have like sound coming out of it, out of the TV, whereas for phones, at least most people have it on silent or vibrate. So sound is a bit of an intrusion, because also we have our phones everywhere. Not just in our personal homes, but also bus, transport, conference. So I think it's mobile phones, it feels more of an intrusion than a TV.
Thank you very much.
One question connected to this topic, accessibility from me. Materials 3 Expressive mainly uses a lot of shapes to signal a lot of things. For example, for a toggle button, when the button is checked, usually the rounded corners radius is changed in some ways. Where do you use these kind of principles in accessibility, shapes, and signaling things with shapes?
So being able to show different shapes to denote different actions or different states?
Yeah, I think it makes user experience better to use shapes to signal different things or states in components.
Yes, yeah. It's usually better than color, because sometimes it's very easy to get color wrong, especially with like different levels of color blindness. Having a shape that is clearly readable is quite good for accessibility. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
There are a lot of animation library like Lottie or Rife. I'm wondering if you have any suggestions or guideline if you wanted to do with the library support, or you want to do your custom drawing thing with the crazy animation thing. Is there like suggestions or guideline you suggest us to follow to speed up the process?
Yeah, not really. I think I do see the use of libraries like Lottie, but I have found for me personally, it does slow me down because I'm spending so much time with Jetpack Compose that it's becoming more of like a second nature to me to do the code, do the animations. So yeah, I think if it's better for you to use other animation libraries, it's good. But I don't think I have any recommendations on which one to use and not use. I mostly know only about Compose.
Thank you.
Okay.
No questions?
That's everything. Remember to vote, to also scan the QR code. You can find all the source code for the presentation, along with articles, videos, YouTube videos also made in Jetpack Compose. Yeah, so have fun. Thank you.